And welcome to the Final Yard here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. I'm your host, Louis Sung, and I will be joined shortly by Hussam Patel. But we also happen to have the head honcho himself, Ethan Skolnick, joining us for this show. It's great to have you on, Ethan.
Good to be with you. I'm gonna let you run point here.
All right.
I run points on the other stuff. This is your show.
All right, sounds good. So I thank you for that. So before we get into it, Miami just managed to win 17-16, and oh boy, we got a lot to talk about. But before we get into all that, just going to bring up really quick that this episode of The Final Yard is brought to you by ThriveFantasy. If you're like me, who wants to get into the fantasy sports world but have no idea of what you're doing or where to even begin to do the hours of grueling research to create the best team possible, then that is where ThriveFantasy will step in to make things much, much easier. With Thrive, all you have to do is focus on the top-tier athletes, the one that even the most casual sports fans instantly know by name, and choose 10 out of the available 20 players to build your lineup. Each prop is assigned a fantasy value for both the over and the under on how likely it is to hit, and if you can hit the most props and rack up the most points, you will win a share of the prize pool based on which contest you chose to enter. Thrive has over 140,000 guaranteed prizes up for grabs. Just this week one, they're going to hand out a lot of cash, folks, of this season, and they've awarded over $4 million in prize money overall. Thrive's featured 100,000 guaranteed contest is only $20 to enter, and the first place winner takes home $20,000. So what does that mean? Even if you don't happen to win the most points of them all, you still have a good shot at putting a significant sum of cash in your virtual wallet. And if you use the promo code that we're gonna have for you on the description there, when you sign up today, you'll get a 100% of your first deposit matched up to $100, which means you'll essentially double the amount you have to try your luck. You're basically playing with house money at that point. What are you waiting for? Download Thrive Fantasy on the app or Play Store, or visit www.thrivefantasy.com to get started. Sign up and prop up today. So my luck with Thrive didn't go so good because Ryan Fitzpatrick got hurt, so I didn't get much on that one. And as far as everything else, well, you know, my luck is not good. But anyway, you guys might have better luck. I think you had better luck, Ethan.
Yeah, not so much better luck. I mean, the only thing I had better luck on was I took the Dolphins on the money line today. Because simply put, I think they're the better team. I don't necessarily think they played the better game, but they escaped, Louis. And I mean, it's pretty much all that matters. And I mean, ultimately, your best player has to make a play when it matters. And we didn't hear Xavier Howard's name the entire game, except for, I guess, one crossing route at the end in front of him until he makes the play on the fumble.
Yeah.
And that's what you're paying him for, is to basically, you know, render his side of the field a non-factor, and then ultimately make a play with it counts. And they did enough. I think there'll be Dolphin fans, Louis, as we go through, and I know Hussam's going to join us, that are going to be frustrated by certain aspects of this game, the offensive line, the lack of being able to get home against Mac Jones, even though they had pressure at times. But ultimately, and of course, the Tua interception, which to me, he's just got to basically throw that thing away or just fall down. But again, you win in Foxborough against ESPN's team. You take it. It's a division game, and the Bills lost today, and the Jets lost today, and your Miami Dolphins are in first place. So you take it.
Yeah, we take the win. Listen, ugly wins, whether they're beautiful or whether they're ugly, a win is a win, and they do manage to get the 1-0 start. We now officially are the sole owners of the AFC East, no matter how bad it looked getting there. So now, yes, plenty to talk about, plenty of stuff to criticize. Let's not beat around the bush here. As much as we can celebrate this win, and we'll get to the good stuff in a minute, but I just need to bring this up because it's something that it cannot be dismissed. And if I remember once you had told me about burying the lead, I'm not burying the lead this time. The biggest story for me today was the absolute, complete, and utter meltdown, once again, of the Miami Dolphins offensive line. Ethan, it's driving me up a wall, man. No matter who they pick, no matter who's the coach, no matter what's going on, they just can't block anybody. I don't get it. It's ridiculous.
Well, it's not just the not blocking anybody, but then, you know, Solomon Kinley, you know, almost cost them the game by racing 6 yards downfield. I thought it would take him 3 days to get 6 yards downfield, but somehow he managed to do it. I mean, part of it is just this. I mean, you look at the two drives that were successful for the Dolphins today offensively, both out of the halves, right? First half, first quarter, third quarter, where they ran a lot of scripted stuff, and they were able to get those quick hitting plays where Tua was able to get in rhythm. The problem for this offense is once a defense can kind of, sort of focus in on this offensive line, okay, over the course of a half, it's difficult for the coordinator. I mean, you're dealing with a new coordinator in Godsey to adjust, to make the kind of adjustments. And then, there were, again, a couple plays Tua didn't help himself. But you look at it, when Tua had time to step up in the pocket, he made good throws.
Yes.
But he just doesn't get that kind of time. And that's why, again, that quick hitter to Waddle in the fourth quarter, I was like, more of that. Or, I'm sorry,
Devonte Parker. Yeah, it was Parker.
More
Parker
of that. It's the ball has got to be out because I do not trust this offensive line. And I know Rob is saying, don't start with the negative. We're saying it because, honestly, the positive to me is I'm sort of confused how they won this game, which is a great positive because there were a lot of things we were afraid of before this game that actually transpired, and they won anyway. They won, guys, and Sam's coming. They won even though Gesicki, I guess, didn't end up with a catch, right? Because
because they removed that one.
They removed the one catch. Albert Wilson, non-factor. But credit to Devonte Parker for showing up.
Still
criticism of him during camp again for not being healthy. Credit to Waddle, except for the one drop. Credit to Gaskin for making some critical runs, the bounce out when he needed it. And then again, credit to Xavier Howard for making a play. I thought Jason McCourty played well too, but
he did.
But there are a lot of things to clean up. But the positive is, it's a division win on the road, okay? And when the rookie quarterback played well, he played well, okay? And they won anyway, and so you take it.
All right, so here's the positives, and I'll get Hussam in here in just a minute. Here are the positives, just to get everything out of the way first. Emmanuel Ogbah completely dominated that backup right tackle. He just obliterated him. Jaylen Phillips, everybody's asking, did Jaylen Phillips even play? Did Jaylen Phillips play? Yes, he played. He got in the guy's face plenty of times. He managed to beat his guys. But again, the ball comes out so fast that you can't even really see where you can get to him. And the one time they did get to him, they got flagged for it because Lord forbid you touch a New England quarterback. That's illegal. You don't breathe on him. It's not okay. Meanwhile, Tua's getting clobbered in the head. He's getting knocked down low. Anybody care? No. That's just kind of how these things go nowadays. So there's some positives for you. Ogbah did well. Jaylen Phillips did go well. And I'll give credit to Liam Eichenberg a little bit here because that one play that he got absolutely rocked, it wasn't that he got rocked. He got tripped up by Solomon Kinley, who, by the way, his left foot tripped up Eichenberg just as Uchi got to him. So it made it look like that Uchi just completely just knocked him over like he was a scarecrow. So it was not that as bad as it looked. Eichenberg did decent considering he hadn't really practiced much at left tackle all camp, all preseason. He basically was exclusively right tackle and left guard, so he had no training in the NFL as a left tackle. I'm hoping that Austin Jackson will come back because if I want the line to have some cohesiveness to it. Austin Jackson's been practicing a left tackle this whole time. I want Austin Jackson to win the left tackle job because that leaves room for Eichenberg to come over to right tackle where we had planned for him to be in the first place. I just need to see some improvement. I really do, because I'm sick and tired of seeing Tua running for his life. And when Tua did get time, in those rare moments that he got time, he looked like the star he was in Alabama. So that's probably the difference between him and Mac Jones in this game. Everybody's going to say Mac outplayed Tua. Everybody's going to say that Mac Jones looks stellar, amazing, incredible, no interceptions. He was always getting past the blitz. It's very easy. This is the same thing that New England has done for the past 2 decades, is that if you happen to see a guy and he's coming at you, but you always have this little dump off. This is the Josh McDaniels offense. There's always this little escape route. Oh, there's the guy right there. Boink, and there it is. That's all you have to do all game long. And you saw it again all game long. It was, and they didn't do anything to really stop it. Yes, Mac Jones had some really nice throws. Tua had some really nice throws too. So really what it boiled down to was who got more opportunities to throw these little dink and dunk passes all game long. That was no question Mac Jones. Mac Jones had a very, very easy role to play. If the few times that we actually got to him, that's when it looked more impressive because he actually had to do something difficult. But the majority of his passes was just, oh, there you are. Oh, wide open. Oh, okay, I got it. Oh, that's not hard to do.
It's manufactured, Lewis. That's what this New England offense, this Josh McDaniels offense is. It's basically just a Brady offense, dink and dunk. That's how this offense has been operating. And look, I was a little critical of this game plan because it looked too conservative. They weren't putting a lot of pressure on Mac Jones early, even though, they were getting home, and they were hitting him after he released the ball. Mm-hmm. The issue is that, the way they were playing, you can't cover those deep routes and shallow routes. You can't blitz a team that runs screens and dump offs and easy 2-3 yard completions that go upfield when you're giving them cushion. It wasn't a real defense that we saw from week 1 in Brian Flores. And I do think Brian Flores knew what he was doing. Look, he's beat Bill Belichick twice at home.
Yep.
Tua has beat Bill Belichick one last year at home. And this is his first time beating Belichick in New England. There's not a lot of quarterbacks that beat New England at home on the first try. Now,
Hussam, did it feel to you? I just want to jump in there real quick. Did it feel to you a little like the Flores philosophy today defensively was knowing that they would take the dink and dunk stuff, but we're going to force them to go 12 plays, 13 plays, 14 plays. And the reality is New England almost pulled it off, and it felt kind of inevitable until the fumble. Like it felt to a certain degree that it was going to backfire on Flores, the philosophy that they chose there, but they got the one play that they needed, right? So, I mean, exactly. I don't, to me, like across the board, there's a lot of B minuses in this game for me. Like I feel like the offensive game plan was really good in spots coming out of the half, but not consistently, right?
It was manufactured coming out of the half, beginning
the scripted stuff.
It's just, my issue with Tua, and this is probably my only 2 negatives of him and this offense. It's either a Tua thing or an offensive thing. I can't really pinpoint exactly what it is because we have such a small sample size. Tua does well when the plays are scripted. Outside of structure, and this is the big thing for quarterbacks, if you're able to succeed outside of structure, you roll out and, you're mobile, you're making plays with your feet. We saw that in the Cardinals game. We didn't see it a lot last season or today. Albeit you're playing a great New England Patriots defense, I haven't seen a lot of out-structured plays from Tua Tagovailoa. And I don't know if it's a hip thing or a mechanic thing or a lefty thing. His throws outside the numbers, they're not too good.
Well, there were a couple that sailed out of bounds that were unplayable, but I'd rather they do that than what he did. And I think there are 2 plays probably people are going to want to talk about. That one, obviously the decision Tua made there to throw it back into the field there after he did escape. And then also, I mean, let's just be honest here. If Landon Roberts isn't a victim of one of the worst calls that I've ever seen.
0 touchdowns.
Right. I mean, this game looks totally different, right? Like, is there any justification for the call on Landon Roberts in the first half?
Honestly, as far as I'm concerned, no, that's just New England favoritism as usual. Also, just quick shout out my guy, Nick Castillo in the chat. Nice to see you again, dude. Just had to say that real quick. Okay. So here's the reality of what happened there. It's again, New England favoritism. The same exact thing pretty much happened to Tua more than once. I remember that. I don't remember who it was. I think it was Matt Judon who actually absolutely clobbered Tua on that. It was that throw that got picked off. He absolutely hammered.
Has been happening to Mac Jones as well. He's been getting clobbered too, and they weren't called.
Okay, but he got called. He got called twice today.
What is Landon Roberts supposed to do there?
There was that one time when Judon hit him on the head, just a little love tap. And if that was anybody else,
somebody breathes on Tom Brady and they throw flags from 5 different directions.
Bias. It's very real. I'm telling you, it's very, very real. It's about winning those type of plays. And look, Miami played disciplined football. They created turnovers, 2 turnovers that led them to win. They had only 3 penalties? Correct me if I'm mistaken. It's either 2 or 3. I don't know the exact number, and it was for 20, 25 yards? That's it. That's how they won the game.
I mean, there wasn't a penalty of great significance other than the Landon Roberts penalty, which again, I don't really understand what he's supposed to do there. I mean, essentially, if the quarterback is going to be going down at the time,
there were penalties that made big problems. So the Solomon Kinley one is the first one that comes to mind.
But the Solomon Kinley one is that's their fault. I mean, that's his fault.
Yeah,
that's not a bad call.
Well, I can think there was another call, the hands to the face one that got called on Zach Sealer, where there's some debate on that one, even within like my own little small group, is that some of them say that Zach Sealer did get the face mask. I didn't see it. I saw him like grabbing the very tip of the jersey. I didn't see him touch the face. So Again, that's another bad call right there. It's just, as far as I'm concerned, it's we managed to beat the Zebras again. This is what we managed to do. Really, we managed to beat the Zebras. So let's look at this from the bright side. Devonte Parker, big time game from him, and it kind of drives me up a wall. Like, even when I'm trying to be negative, even when I'm trying to be positive, I can't help but be negative because I'm looking at it. Devonte Parker, 4 receptions, 81 yards, and again, it was the two little quick slants were probably the most impressive things that happened all game long from a game planning perspective. Devonte Parker going up and making that deep catch, that's the most impressive individual play. Him and Jaylen Waddle both. But as far as the game planning, those quick little slants, which I just don't understand. And even Trent Green brought it up. And that's how you know you're really in trouble, because if even Trent Green can make a decent point, you have to look at it. Why were they not doing this more? Why were they not just doing these quick little shots and just letting them run? That was why you went and got all these fast guys.
But don't you think we'll see more of that? First thing, I mean, you're getting Fuller back next week, right? I mean, we're assuming.
You don't want to show everything your first week, Lewis. That's the thing. You do not want to show your cards the first couple.
You have to show some more cards when you're in danger of losing the game, Hussam.
But they won it.
Look, they did the Wildcat. They did a couple of trick plays with the Wildcat too. And looked at, I honestly thought they were going to go Wildcat majority of the game just to get the ground game running. And look, they tried. They did what they had to do. They did a small pick play that gained them a little bit of yards. They did manufacture touches to Jaylen Waddle. We didn't see a lot of Albert Wilson either, even though, if Tua threw the ball a little bit towards the pylon and Wilson jumped up, we could have had a touchdown. But, it's little nuances, little touches that the Dolphins offense needs to get better on. It's week 1. Everyone is going to be rusty.
Well, one of the things I do like about this roster and why I like them today is that they have enough options now that if you do take something away, they can still be somewhat effective. We saw, I mean, again, Gesicki non-factor today. They got enough from Parker and Waddle. Okay, now you're going to get Fuller back. Again, Wilson, like you said, not a factor today. Gaskin, had some trouble running out of, sort of straight sets, but he found some things as the game went on. Okay, Ahmed had the one catch early. They have enough guys, I think, to go to. I really think the whole thing comes down to what you said at the beginning, Lewis. The weapons are there on this team, okay? And I feel like Tua has a comfort level with a bunch of them, and it's good to see him get a comfort level with Parker, because I feel like, again, if we don't know if Preston Williams is going to be a factor this season, again, we would see him today. He wasn't active. Then really Parker gives them something different than anybody else on that offense does. So it's good to see him get a comfort level with him to just throw it up to him once, okay? And again, he came down with it. But I think they have enough. To me, it's just the line. I mean, that is going to dictate how far they go, because if he has enough time to get to his weapons, then I do think they're going to be a more productive offense than they were today. And again, you're also going against a great defensive coach. As Hussam mentions, they still have very good personnel on that defense. And I thought they did some smart things against the Dolphins. What I take from it is this, and I think, Hussam, you made it the key point here. I think with Tua, it is a lot about playing within script. And you mentioned it. I think you're talking about it during plays, right? Like if things sort of go haywire, he's not necessarily going to create something for you that's positive all the time. But it's also, again, the fact that they scored the 2 touchdowns coming out of breaks, right? Coming into the first quarter and into the third quarter. Show me, it's like when he knows, okay, this is what I need to do on this series, he's going to be effective. This team's, I think, upside, because their offensive line is not good, is going to be dictated based on whether or not he's able to create some things, or the coaches are able to create some things outside of those initial scripts. Okay. And that to me is where I think they're going to be a good team this year. That is where they go from being a 10-7 team, which is where, I had them at 11-6, but 10-7 to 12-5. Can they create outside of script? And they did enough today. And we'll see where they go with it.
I think that they can do it. The thing is that, and this is where I say New England does it better, is that every time Mac Jones got into trouble, there was something available that he could look at and say, aha, I've got you. There's like this designed escape route for Jones to go to. That didn't exist so much for Tua. Like the one time there was something that he could get it to, that was the one time he got it to Gesicki, and then Solomon Kinley happened to be too far downfield and they called it back. So, but that was the one time. It's like, aha, there's this little escape route. With Tua, his situation was that he's all alone back here on an island, and you can't even see the receivers in the screen anymore because they're all the way down here. So at that point, Tua has no choice but to take the sack, throw the ball away, or throw up a prayer because there's no hot route that you can get the ball to. That is a design thing, and I want them to start giving Tua more places to get rid of it if the defense comes a knocking like New England did.
My initial problem for the offense was not using Mike Gesicki more in the passing game. Look, the Patriots defense, they have really, really great pass rushing type of linebackers. They don't have cover guys. Kyle Van Noy cannot cover that well. And I liked it when we had Salvon Ahmed on the field, and especially on that wheel route and that go route that, Tua, he sailed over Salvon Ahmed's head because linebackers can't cover Salvon Ahmed. Mike Gesicki is a mismatch towards the middle of the field. I feel like if we would have gotten more Gesicki towards the middle of the field, either, in curl flats or the RPO stick flats as well, or he's just going across and dragging as well, gaining upfield, we would have been more effective in the pass game and would have opened up the run game a little bit more. Now, I do want to make a point about this offensive line. They're still young. They're still learning. There's still a learning curve for these offensive linemen. Liam Eichenberg, even though he played great left tackle at Notre Dame, the NFL and college is supremely different. Eichenberg had limited snaps at left tackle during camp and practice. I'm sure, Lewis, you've seen it as well. The fact that Austin Jackson went down, it thrusted Liam Eichenberg into that left tackle spot. Solomon Kinley is still learning as well. He's not the best pass blocker. He's a good run blocker as well. Robert Hunt, he's pretty solid, but he can always improve to that all-pro level. If Tua had the same offensive line as Mac Jones today, it would have been a much cleaner game for Tua Tagovailoa. Be honest, do you guys think that way? If no, I don't. Offensive line like that.
No, I don't think there's any question.
There's no question about that. None.
But the question I have going forward is, can they mitigate it? Right? Like because what you're talking about in terms of experience, this is going to take a lot of time. I mean, first thing, they haven't really settled on their 5 yet. Okay, like you said. Okay, and again, Austin Jackson going out, and then Eichenberg switching back to his college position. So there's a continuity issue here. My biggest thing is not so much the Tua as it is, are they going to be able to run out of conventional sets this year? Because we haven't talked about it, but again, I'm the fact that they won this game, we should be celebrating it because their offensive line on the lines, they got manhandled a lot. Okay, both lines, their offensive line got manhandled, and then you look at the defensive line. I mean, Harris had 57 yards in the first 3 plays, and they looked like they were getting pushed around a little bit, and that's even before Raekwon Davis went out. So to me, I'm stunned they won this game. I really am. Like I know that they had, again, we talked about the Landon Roberts thing, but to a certain degree, they stole it. They stole it because they got a couple of turnovers, and because it did feel inevitable that what New England was doing offensively, that they were going to get at least a field goal there at the end. And I think this is the best kind of win for Brian Flores because there's a lot of bleep on tape that doesn't look very good, but you're still 1-0. You're still the only 1-0 team of the division. Like, you like to have wins like this that where you did play in a flawed way and you won anyway. Okay. Cause it's a better teaching tool, I think.
All right. I had Manny pull this up here. This is because there are a lot of people giving some Liam Eichenberg slander right here. This is the play everyone's talking about, the one where Eichenberg got ran over. If you look at it very closely, you saw Solomon Kinley and Eichenberg both trip each other up. Like, watch here. Boom, right there. You saw the foot just kind of get all tangled up. That's why Eichenberg fell to the ground. It had nothing to do with Uche really beating Eichenberg. He was already on his way down as Uche got to him. So we can't fault Eichenberg for that play specifically. That being said, Could they have been better? Of course. They can all be better. They all need to be better if we're really going to get very far in this league. So as where Michael Dieter was, I don't know, he was out of breath or something. He's not used to being thrust into the starting spotlight, I guess. This team won the game. There's no question about that. I'm very happy with what happened. I'm happy to have the 1-0. I am happy to have the 1-0 because everybody's saying we're all being too negative. If the performance, it's very easy to be positive when you absolutely dominate a team. But when you have a performance where you're looking at things and questioning, like all the tweets that were out during game, like I was trying very hard not to be negative with my live tweets. But everybody else, like the people who are just watching the game just to watch it, they're all saying the same thing. They're all in my mentions. Ugh, it looks terrible. Ugh, where is everybody? Ugh, is Gesicki even playing? Ugh, and there's all these ughs everywhere. Yes, we won, but there is stuff to look at that we have to be conscious of. We cannot just put a blind eye to it. That is our job as analysts. That is our job as journalists, is to look at everything from a perspective of saying, okay, they won, terrific. What can they fix? So,
but Lewis, this is a lot different. I don't know if you had to sit through.
So even Flores, there you go. Corrections to make.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. I mean, it's the perfect kind of scenario for him. Okay. Because you do get the road win, but you still have a lot that didn't look good. But this is different. And this is why I want to make sure we are positive enough, because this is different than the trash I just sat through with the Hurricanes last night, where they won a 2-point game, but against Appalachian State at home. And I don't know how anybody can feel good about it. And look at the difference here. You have Manny Diaz after that game. This is why they are worlds apart as far as being head coaches. Manny Diaz after that game, Appalachian State does that to a lot of teams when literally Appalachian State hasn't done that to anybody in 14 years since they did it to Michigan, right? Okay, when you sneak past them at home, as compared to the Dolphins just went up to New England and won in Bill Belichick's building. Even if the talent, that's an interesting question from Alex. Does Cam Newton lose that game? I don't know. It would have been a different game because
Cam Newton would have won that game for them. Cam Newton would have.
He would have, right? But it would have been. He might have thrown a couple picks too, but he also would have gained more on the ground. But I just think that you look at getting the win here. This feels very different to me than the Hurricanes win yesterday. You went up to New England. You did enough to win the game. Your best player made a play when it mattered. Your quarterback played well enough, even with the one bad mistake. You survived poor offensive line play for much of it, and you survived the fact that you were getting gashed on the ground from the very beginning. I'm okay with the Dolphins feeling good about this win. I do think there are obviously things to correct, but also, I mean, some specific players. I mean, Jalen Waddle had a bad drop, but he also made an impact in his first game as a rookie. Okay?
Oh yeah, no question.
That's significant.
No question.
Okay, yeah, and Javon Holland made an impact in his first game as a rookie.
He did. Yes, very early on, Javon Holland looked terrific. He was making some plays, turned Jonnu Smith in a complete circle in the air, so that was pretty fun to watch, and that was what caused the initial fumble. And by the way, New England, I don't know who's in charge of turnovers over there, but turnovers, penalties. What happened to that vaunted Bill Belichick discipline there? I don't. What happened there? Like how many penalties? How many penalties?
Dolphins for that too. I mean,
for real.
And then you take a look at, obviously we talked a lot about how teams threw at Howard last year more often. Well, they didn't throw it today, and the expensive guy on the other side, I thought made some pretty good plays too. Okay, and so I mean, I thought Eric Rowe played reasonably well. I mean. There was enough good stuff. I have some questions about their linebacker play, particularly against the run. And I thought that the offensive line got pushed back a little bit. The defensive line got pushed back a little bit. But I see enough. And I'm not going to be one of these people who's going to stress over the fact that like Noah was inactive and all that. Look, if Nick Needham beats him out in camp or others beat him out in camp, that's a sign of your development program working in other ways.
Anybody else see Needham basically take over all the slot reps over Justin Coleman?
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, Coleman was projected to be that slot starter. I didn't see him on the field that much towards the end of the game.
I mean, Nick Needham, something about Nick Needham, man. He's just like, he plays like he is the defensive version of Jarvis Landry. He plays with a fire in his belly like I have never seen before. Like this dude
I will say this
is full throttle. constantly.
Lewis, he is one of, to me, of all the guys I've seen come through there, he's one of the guys. I can't think of
Is he
many
a better
more
Bobby McCain?
who looked worse. Well, I can't think of many who looked worse in their first sort of preseason and became players than Nick Needham. I felt like he was totally unplayable his first year.
So did
when he
everybody
was
else,
playing.
myself included.
It's remarkable. I mean, he's been, and so to me, it's like, okay, do you want your first round pick from last year to be active? Yes. Okay. But if you're getting good play from somebody else, I don't really care. He just, as I said, need him no yards after the catch. Yeah. He tackles, he's in the right place. And they have a lot of guys like that. And I just don't think this is a team. To me, previous Dolphin teams don't win this game. They don't.
No.
They don't win this game because they did not play that well, and they won anyway up there. And to me, that's impressive.
So it is impressive because, again, you don't just go up to Foxborough and beat New England in their own home court, especially not with the way they played. You have to give credit to where it's due. They did play well. They executed pretty much everything they were supposed to. But at the end of the day, the defense did the whole bend but don't break thing, and they managed to get the job done. That is where the silver lining is. As much as the defense kind of was back on their heels a lot, they did enough to get the job done. They hung tough, and they were able to get the job done. So let's give credit to Zach Sealer. Let's give credit to Christian Wilkins. And by the way, John Jenkins, he came up big a couple of times too, being that big beefy dude in the middle, taking over for Raekwon Davis. Very underrated signing by Miami. He's being the nose tackle in the meantime. Landon Roberts shooting the gap. Sam Eguavon getting plenty of snaps. He made one heck of an impression in that last preseason game because I still would have kept Bernardrick McKinney. That's just me. But Landon Roberts did a decent job today, got through the gap. Again, he got to Mac Jones a couple of times. It just didn't amount to anything because, number one, the refs bailed him out. Number two, he just didn't get there fast enough because they got an escape route.
You got to talk about Jaylen Phillips, man.
And Jaylen Phillips was there too. Yes, Jaylen Phillips
20 times
cannot be ignored. Cannot be ignored. Jaylen Phillips, he didn't get any numbers on his little stat sheet, but let me tell you something. He was there. You could tell him, and if you watch back the tape, and I guarantee you someone will, I'm guarantee you Alfredo Arteaga, he's going to be looking at it. He's going to have some things to say, I'm sure. So all those 3 yards per carry, guys. So make sure you're listening for their podcast. I'm sure they're going to break it down for you. But if you just watch what happened, Jaylen Phillips was not invisible. Jaylen Phillips was there. It kind of reminded me of the last year of Cameron Wake in Miami, where his sack numbers were low, but he was always like 2 feet away from actually getting the number.
But I actually felt that with Agba today also.
But today too, yes, exactly.
Agba could have had 3 sacks today, and he made a contribution in other ways. And I'll be curious to see next week. Again, you're going against Josh Allen, who obviously didn't have the strongest game. I hope everybody listened to me and Jim Rodriguez because we both had the Steelers winning up in Buffalo. Because I do feel like there's going to be a comeback to the pack for Buffalo this year. But it is going to be different. We've seen this totally different quarterback they're facing, Lewis, next week. And so the defense is going to have to adjust because we've seen that Josh Allen over the years has hurt the Dolphins more with his legs than he has with his arm. That's not something.
And he's been really good against the blitz too, Ethan.
Really good, but they didn't have to deal with that with Mac Jones today, though. Exactly. Mac Jones, that was a very basically Belichick said to him, look, they're going to come at you with some pressure, get rid of it, hit the hot guy, and that's it. Stay in the pocket. You don't have to improvise. That's going to look different next week. And so I do think that this defense has enough flexibility to play against different types of quarterbacks. My biggest concern for the defense today is what happened early against the run. Because this is a Dolphins team that I think defensively needs to play with a lead. They're built to play with a lead. And so I'm concerned if they get down against a team that a team that's a better maybe running team than even New England is, they're going to have some struggles there. So, I mean, that would be one of my concerns, particularly if Raekwon Davis is not healthy.
I caught flack from a lot of my guys at ATB and other networks. I expected New England to win this game 21-20 in a grinder. Mm. And the fact that the Dolphins won, even though, Xavier Howard made a fantastic play and we were able to get into victory formation in New England, that speaks tones. I mean, we were able to win in New England week 1. I mean, I'm super happy about that. I hope Raekwon Davis is okay. I hope Tua has learned from
He
his
wanted to
mistakes.
play. He was on the sideline.
Oh,
He
yeah.
was just like, "Oh, get me in there, coach. Don't take me out, coach. I can still play." Kind of reminds me of that.
The game plan is going to shift heading into Buffalo. It's the season opener. And if Miami can get out to a 2-0 division lead and a 2-0 lead this season, Miami is set up for success early on. Gives them a little bit of a buffer in those middle of the road games to maybe take 1 or 2 losses, and then towards the end they have a home streak of about 4 games in which they play easier opponents.
Yeah.
So if they're able to get out to a good lead 2-0 this season, they're in a good position.
How would you guys grade Tua today? Because I think that's what everybody's going to come out of this. Give him a letter grade.
B-.
I'll give him a B. I just actually read a statement. Tua was actually talking on the podium. He said that apparently he was actually trying to throw away that pass that got picked off. So he wasn't actually trying to get it to Gesicki or Wilson. He was trying to get rid of it, and he didn't get it far enough out of
Was he inside the tackle box?
Face.
But it looked to me like he was just barely inside the tackle box. I'd have to look at it again. I don't know that he ever totally cleared it. Which maybe I thought that was the reason he threw it back into the field.
No, he was trying to get rid of it, apparently.
Yeah, because I thought he was trying to avoid a grounding penalty.
By the way, do you guys – I've heard a lot from the fans that they took a little bit of an issue of Jacoby Brissett being on those 3rd and 1, 3rd and short quarterback sneak plays.
I
Do you
didn't
guys
care for
think
it.
they did that?
I don't care for it. It just, as far as I'm like, the Wildcat is one thing because that's what it is. It's designed to do that. And by the way, Tua's still on the field. It's just like on the side there. So he's still technically not gone. But then you come in with Jacoby Brissett on 3rd and 1. Like, apparently he did this in New England. I'm told that he's done that
in
before.
Indianapolis too.
He did it in Indy. Okay, fine. But still, like, if you have a rhythm going, don't throw it off for some, especially
I always hated
that.
I always hate, I've always, ever since, and again, I was in New England for the first Wildcat game, okay, and it's one of my 10 favorite games I've covered in any sport, okay, but what we've seen since, okay, whether it was Sperano in his last 3 years or others who have adopted it, is that Dolphin coaches have never allowed their quarterbacks to get into rhythm because of that stupid thing. I'm not a fan of it. I think that there's the other subtext here that's adding to this, which is that, you're trying to show that Tua is your quarterback. You just got through this whole thing with Fitzpatrick, and now you're yanking him off the field again. I didn't have as much of an issue with it the last one that they did. Again, Brissett's 230 pounds. I didn't like the other one and the fact that they were unprepared for the next play. I mean, was that intentional to let it run down there?
They was intentional, apparently, but Jesse Davis got caught making a mistake, so they were trying to run down the clock and call timeout before it happened. But again, that's execution. That's something that can be worked on. It's the concept, though, I'm not a fan of. I would like Tom Brady ran his own QB sneaks for almost 2 decades now. I'm not worried about Tua. Like, let him just do it. I mean,
he's also not as big as Brady.
He's not as big, okay, but you know what?
240 pounds. Tua is what?
And Garoppolo was younger than, and Garoppolo was younger and stronger than Brady, and so was Brady that when he was there.
Too, man. And you want to put him against this Dolphins offensive line, who has admittedly struggled run blocking a little bit. I'm fine with putting Brissett in there.
Oh yeah, this is CK's. I'm not going to read this. I'm not going to read this because we'll be banned from YouTube. But that's our guy, Chris Kaufman. You could just lead. And again, I think ultimately, like you said, Lewis. I mean, we're looking at particular things that didn't go right because this is what you do. You're critical. The Dolphins are in a different place now. This is not a.
Ethan, I want to find things to talk about that are nice. So bad.
I'm saying that they're not a 5-11 team now. They're coming off a 10-6 season. The expectations are higher. Mm-hmm. Okay, and you're playing a New England team that is not a Brady New England team coming off a Super Bowl. You have a team that didn't make the playoffs. It's different. But with that being said, I think CK's sentiment, which people can see there, is legitimate, which is that, look, this is not, I'll say this again, this is not the kind of game that previous Dolphins teams would have found a way to win. It's a game they would have found a way to lose. So whether it happens because New England couldn't hold onto the ball and X comes up with it, the fact is you won the game. And here's the thing. The storyline of this, okay, if they lose this thing, okay, if they don't come up with that play and they get a late field goal, the storyline of this game, and it's going to be on ESPN and NFL Network and everywhere else, and Colin Cowherd, and it's going to seep down here.
It still will.
Mac Jones outplayed Tua. Mac Jones completed something like 13 out of 15 at this point, led him to a victory. Okay. And that Tua couldn't come through when it mattered and threw a bad pick. And so to me, just the fact that they escape that narrative now, right? They escape it. They get the win.
Did they really?
No, nobody's going to talk about.
Nobody's going to say they lost.
Put on my tweet, Manny. There's only 3 things that's going to happen in the media, Manny. If you can put it up, I would appreciate it. So look,
it's like we got to be honest about it, Ethan. Like, did they really escape? Are they really going to give him a break?
No, but really? No, Lewis. They're not going to talk about them. That's the thing, which is better. Okay. In other words, I don't think if the Patriots win this game, Mac Jones is one of the 2 or 3 lead stories tomorrow on all the national stuff. The fact that the Patriots lost this game means that this game is buried. It's going to be buried behind Chiefs Browns. It's going to be buried behind some of the other games that happened today, because people only care about this in the context of like 5 teams nationally. The Patriots are one of those teams. The Dolphins are not. So to me, what they escaped today was that narrative. Okay. They escaped the narrative that Tua got beat by the guy who backed him up in college. They escaped it. Okay. And so whether or not this was a pretty win or they needed a lucky break or whatever you want to call it, or X makes a play, the fact is they come out of there with a win. They're the only undefeated team, for whatever it's worth, in the division. And they get Buffalo at home next week with a Buffalo team that's going to be a little pressed because they just lost at home to Pittsburgh when everybody was all geeked up in that town. So I'm with CK in the sense of, you take it. You take these wins, but I also think they've got long-term concerns. I think the offensive line is a long-term concern. I think some of the linebacker play could be a concern going forward. And I think what Hussam hit on early, which is Tua's ability to make something happen out of nothing on a team that's going to give him a lot of nothing because of the offensive line, is concerning going forward. That's how I view this.
And look, here's where the narrative is going to be tomorrow, Ethan. Look, the Dolphins won, yes. Xavier Howard bailed them out.
MVP. Yes. MVP Xavier Howard.
They're going to look at the box score stats. They're going to pull up Max stats, Tua stats, compare. They're going to focus on that interception. They're not going to focus on that rushing touchdown and that touchdown to Jalen Waddle. They're going to focus on the narrative, and it's going to be going on throughout the season. He's going to be carried by this defense. That's going to be the narrative the entire season.
But that's fine.
That's fine.
It leads to wins. It's better than losing and having to hear about he should be replaced every week. There's lots of quarterbacks have been carried by their defense, but the
Tom
truth
Brady
is,
for one, and then
people early in his career. But the fact is, they came at the jump. They kicked. Look, they won the toss. And Flores made a decision to kick the ball to Mac Jones and put his defense on the field, right? Mm-hmm. Not afraid of the Patriots offense. Throws him out there. They get a stop. They come out, and Tua goes right down the field with scripted plays. Okay. And then he sets up his defense to play the way his defense wants to play. You can play to your defense. Okay. There's not an issue with that. All I'm saying is what they avoided today were the ridiculous outsized narratives that were going to come if they found a way to blow this game. They didn't. And to me, I don't think you're going to hear them talked about a lot tomorrow. I don't think you're going to hear the Patriots talked about all that much compared to the way it would have been. And to me, that gives everybody a little bit of a breather. And then you see where you are. You lost to Buffalo by 6,000 touchdowns in the last game of the year last year, right? This is a measuring stick to see how much your moves have improved. You get Fuller back. You didn't have a bunch of serious injuries today, and you hope it works out.
You know what I find crazy so far? After all the games today, it was mostly all the home teams lost.
Yeah.
They all lost. And you know who are the only remaining teams in sole position of first place in their division? Miami, Houston, and Philadelphia. And the Bears have a chance to possibly win against the Rams. Just those 4 teams. That's it. Look at Manny. Look at
that.
Jalen Hurts, baby.
Wait till Butch Davis comes into his office, seeing him doing that.
We have the right Alabama quarterback.
I was going to say, was he the best Alabama quarterback today?
I mean, I guess from a standpoint of who actually was the most impressive looking, maybe. Yeah.
They played a bad team.
Because again, Mac Jones had a great stat line, but I didn't see anything that really made me think, wow, with him. I was like, oh, it's the same as always.
Alabama quarterbacks won. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah,
Between the two of them, the better man won as far as upside, as far as potential. If
So
you switch offensive line, if you
Lewis
switch,
and Ethan, I want to ask you this, and Ethan, you have more media experience than me here. I've been hearing a couple rumblings from my sources from New England, and we know what kind of town Boston is. We know how they treat their fans and players that are not, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
The rumblings coming out of New England right now, and from what I was told, is that Cam was pushed out. Look, a reporter up there, there's been a lot of racist BS going on in-house and within the Boston media. And look, you want to crap on Cam Newton all you want about his football, whatever. His arm wasn't the best, but he was pushed out.
Well, I do think, look, I don't know what the motives were. All I'm going to say is this. I think it's an interesting question to ask if they might have won the game today with Cam just because he presents a different style of player. I do think that,
I don't think they do.
Maybe not, but I do think that Mac Jones showed enough today. We can make an argument about how maybe the Dolphins made it easy for him in some ways, or he was given very simple stuff to do. But the reality is he stood in there. He made the throws, and he was efficient. I mean, for the game, they didn't convert it into touchdowns, but he was efficient. And that's and so to me, I think the narrative on Mac Jones is going to be. I think they're going to move past Cam Newton tomorrow in Boston. I don't think that's the issue. I think to me the issue in New England is they just don't have that many playmakers. I mean, they just don't. Like I don't. I mean, you look at that roster, and we talked about it. I don't think that's a great roster.
That's why the offensive scheme in New England is a stroke of genius, because it really doesn't matter who you plug in there. It can work. It can function. But that being said, if we're going to go into the Cam Newton discussion and whether Cam would have won if he was the quarterback, I really don't think so. And the reason why is because look at what Miami was beat by. Well, I can't say beat because they won, but look at what Miami struggled with to defend. It was the efficiency, the quick thinking, dink and dunk stuff. That's not Cam's game. Cam's game is look around, look for the big play, take off like a shot if you get into trouble. That kind of defense.
But didn't he do that last season too?
But no. Here's why. No. Here's why. Because they were installing the defense at the very beginning of all that. First of all, they were still like fresh off of the 5-11, trying to get that new talent in, getting everybody all set up. This is the same defense that we had last season. Now, Cam would have struggled against this particular defense, and I was the one saying that I wish that Cam had been the starter, because I seem to notice this pattern with Miami is that they struggle against unknown quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. Like, can you remember the time when Thad Lewis came in and absolutely wrecked Miami's defense?
Geno Smith.
Cam wouldn't sustain those long drives. No, he'd make a mistake.
That.
He would make some kind of a mistake, and I guarantee you Cam would test Xavier Howard. Mac Jones knew very well. Ignore Xavier Howard like your life depends on it. Literally go anywhere else except that direction. Very smart play by him. Cam, on the other hand, would have been like, I can get it in there, and he'll throw it that way, and Xavier would make him suffer for it.
I'm going to let the two of you guys finish this one off because I got to take care of some other network business here. But I the one other thought I'll have today is I think when you look at a game like today, and again, doesn't come up with an interception, but makes the late fumble, this is why you pay Xavier Howard. This is why you pay Xavier. And to me, it's not as much because of the fumble, the rip at the end. But again, the fact that he made New England, he shortened the field for New England because they could not test his side at all. And so if anybody was questioning whether they should restructure X or what they should take care of X, this is why you need special players, because they change the way that the other team plays. The Dolphins don't have that many of those guys yet. And he's one of the few, and he made the huge play for them. I think that to me, the other promising thing today is Jaylen Waddle is going to be a star. I really believe. Again, drop aside today, but you look at the way they were using him today and getting him in motion and all. There is so much that they're going to be able to do with him. And I think once you've got Fuller running some of those, some of those deep routes, some of those 9 routes instead of Jakeem Grant, and you've got, I know you're more of a Jakeem guy, but I mean, he didn't really look for him. I wasn't really on the field much. And I don't think did he take any offensive? It's very, very
he took a couple of snaps, but most of the game, it was Durham Smythe, honestly,
Yeah.
and I think it was because of his blocking. They threw Jaylen Waddle out there. They threw Devonte Parker out there.
Well, they threw the rookie tight end out there a couple times and
Hunter Long went out there.
Is a
Yes,
pretty good blocker too.
Yeah. So, I mean, they're going to run a lot of 2 tight ends. I understand that. But I'm just saying that they have a guy in Jaylen Waddle who is a play. He's going to win them 2 or 3 games this year. Just win them. Okay. With his speed, but also just with the way that he forces the defense to react. The Dolphins have had so few players, particularly on the offensive side of the ball in recent years, who force defenses to change the way they want to play. They just haven't had that. I mean, they haven't had those. Even Jarvis Landry was not that guy. They just have not had those type of players. They have those players now. So I just think, to me, my overall view on this, and I get we got to criticize it. After watching the Hurricanes, I'm very happy with this. Okay, to me, this is a team that can build on this, and also we don't have to listen to Colin Cowherd for the next 6 days. So
We probably will. You know what's going to be the headline? Tua Tagovailoa is weak, that he cannot even do a quarterback sneak.
Mm-hmm.
Headline tomorrow from Colin Cowherd.
Right. That's an interesting comment from Shad. I'll leave you with these guys. Again, thanks to Thrive Fantasy, our sponsor. Lewis, thanks for holding it down. I got to get to getting a podcast up, but have a good night, everybody. Thanks for joining.
All right. Thank you, Ethan.
Thanks, Ethan.
All right. So we're going to go ahead and we'll finish things up very shortly. So all I'm going to say one more time is this, and then unless you have something else that you want to say, Hussam, we'll go ahead and end it. We won this game. Let's make not mistake about it, because at the end of the day, Miami scored 2 touchdowns. They got a field goal out of it. New England did not do all that. They only got, what was it? They got it was 2 touchdowns.
A touchdown from the refs.
A touchdown, a touchdown from the referees, because they got that extra little whatever. But that's usually how it goes with New England, right? So, like I said, there's a lot of building blocks. That's what I'll say. There are building blocks, but that's why it's hard to keep the positive spin on it, because it's a lot easier to point out the bad than it is the good right now when you have a game where they performed like this. I remember it was about a few years ago where the Dolphins had just barely managed to beat ironically enough, the Ryan Fitzpatrick led Jets. It was probably the ugliest win I had ever seen, and I was upset with how it happened. And people were in my mentions like nothing else about how I was complaining, and a win is a win. Who cares? Sustained success comes from building on those ugly wins and turning them into pretty wins, because very rarely do you see a team just consistently make it long term by just grinding it out every single game. We have to take what happened today and find a way to adapt to what we saw and make it so that it will work. That means that more quick passes to Parker, more quick screen passes to Jaylen Waddle, get Albert Wilson more involved with like jet sweeps and stuff. If you have, or Jakeem Grant, get Jakeem Grant and Jaylen Waddle going opposite directions. Who's got the ball? I don't know who's got the ball. New England had no issue doing their jet sweeps. So that's the kind of thing that I don't really necessarily agree with you, Hussam, on the whole, just don't show your whole playbook right away. New England did their thing. I don't see why we can't do ours. So,
New England's playbook has been there for about 17, 18, 19, 20 years. So they can add wrinkles to every single thing.
It's Josh McDaniels' Bible.
Yeah, they can do whatever they want. This playbook is year one, made from this offseason.
Lewis, I will say this one thing that you did mention about the sweeps, but sweeps won't work if you can't have a consistent running game. And I think the Patriots really had
because those few times that I really want to see this more. And I think I said this during the preseason, and it's something I'm going to have to repeat myself in, because those few times, it was 2 times, or maybe it was 3. Tua kept the ball, and the entire defense had no idea he had it until he was already 5 yards down the field. So I think if Tua does that more, the teams are going to start going back on their heels a little bit, and that will open things up a little bit more. The fact is that dual threat quarterbacks nowadays will have more success. And I know that Tua is not necessarily a runner per se, but he's not a statue. He can run when he needs to. And I think that him doing that more will allow himself to, oh boy, here we go. See, this is why I didn't agree with Ethan, and this is why. Of course he's going to say this. Of course he is. He has to. He has no choice. But anyway, whatever. Get that off the screen. Manny, you're muted. Get that off the screen.
Mac Jones almost threw a couple of picks as well. Are we forgetting about that?
I am going to search Peter King. Maybe he says something too.
No, don't. Please don't. I don't want to. Like, I'm already getting enough flack for not being positive enough, and you're bringing in Colin Cowherd in here to just completely wreck it all up.
Look, Brian Flores is now 3-2 against Bill Belichick. Who else has a winning record against Bill Belichick? A former disciple of Belichick. Who else has a winning record against him?
A former disciple of Belichick? Not many. I'll say Tom Coughlin probably has a winning record.
Coaching now in the past, whatever. I think it's just Brian Flores because Mike Vrabel is, I believe, 1-2 or 1-1.
Vrabel did beat him in the playoff game.
Yeah, I think he's either 1-1 or 1-2. Not too sure. Matt Patricia is back calling defensive plays. I totally forgot about that too. He's back with the Patriots.
Everybody has to go back to New England to get a second shot. Like, so that's what when Josh McDaniels finally gets a head coaching job, if he ever decides to take one, because why would you when he can look like a superstar in New England?
By the way, guys, before we sign off, we had a couple of people mention we should give Parker some credit.
Yeah,
I did. Yeah,
it felt like Tua in crucial situations he went for Parker.
Yep.
Which we would have all thought that maybe that would have been Gesicki today, but I thought Parker. He got open at times when, that team needed him.
They did the short slants. That's why I was screaming. Why didn't you do it more?
Body, like, there's no way that, not me personally, I don't know which cornerback can actually get over him without causing a penalty. But I thought that those plays where Tua needed to throw to convert third downs and to create those longer drives, I thought Parker did a great job there. So we should give
kudos to him. He proved me wrong today. And
so we should not trade him, Lewis. I'm kidding.
I don't think you are. That's the thing that bothers me.
No, I'm kidding. Without Parker today converting those first downs, I don't even know what could happen.
I never said they should trade Parker.
It's
only that he would have gotten the most back.
By the way, is it me or did it seem like Gaskin just could have maybe gained 1 or 2 more yards on a couple of runs and he just decided to just go out of bounds? It's like, dude, lower your head. Like, get those extra yardage. Like, he just runs out of bounds. I'm thinking to myself, Jesus, you could have gotten at least 2 more yards.
Parker, Gaskin did grind out some extra yards today. I'm not going to knock him for going out of bounds a few times.
And this is why you got Malcolm Brown for these types of situations. You run the damn ball with extra linemen. That's it. This is why you brought him here.
And he pushed the line a little bit. He got some. He's not Jordan Howard.
Credit to that offensive line in the fourth quarter in the final drive that converted the first down. Yes,
there you go.
Not played the great game the whole game, but that's why you get a guy like Malcolm Brown who can. He's not going to go down at first contact, right? He's going to keep it rolling. That's why you brought him here. That's it.
And guys, this Patriots defense is probably one of 3 of the hardest defenses we will have to face this year. Them, once more, the Baltimore Ravens, and
Buffalo,
the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Oh, the Bucs. Well, yeah, I can't argue that. No, Tampa Bay is going to be brutal with Vita Vea. And Ndamukong Suh. Can't forget about him. He's hanging around.
Joe Tryon. He's one of my Hussam's hot shots. Joe Tryon Shinoka. He is fantastic. And I would have liked to have him in the second round if we drafted Najee Harris in the first instead of picking up Jaylen Phillips. I do think Joe Tryon and Jaylen Phillips are going to be the best edges in last year's draft class.
Ironically enough, I actually had Najee Harris, and I actually won that on the prize picks, but everything else I lost, so I didn't get my money back. Gun it. I'm not having much luck on the whole fantasy football aspect of it, but I'll try again next week. So is there anything else we need to mention before we call it a night?
The Dolphins are in first place.
The Dolphins are in first place. That's a perfect way to say it. Congratulations, Miami Dolphins. You are 1-0, and you are the sole owners of the AFC East. All you New England Patriots fans, and all you, by the way, the one Jet fan who got into our Pulse of Fins Nation show and started talking all this crap about how the Jets were going to take the division because Zach Wilson.
Got sacked 6 times today. 6. That's 1, 2.
Did all the rookie quarterbacks lose today?
Lawrence lost. Wilson lost. Fields is about to play.
Well, I don't even think Fields is starting.
No, Fields is not starting. Oh. Well, NBC sure as hell made it sound like he was.
That's all they want to talk about.
The whole freaking camera's the whole time on him, and it's like, where's Andy Dalton? Nowhere to be found.
They don't, because they don't like Andy Dalton. That Andy Dalton doesn't move any needles. But rookie quarterbacks make the money flow, Manny. You know this.
By the way, how long will it be till Urban Meyer blows a heart attack on that sideline? Because today it just seemed like the pressure was up there.
By the way, there was a report that came out that he has had repeated issues with his temper.
Yes, with the veteran staff of the players. Yes.
This ain't college. Listen, dude, these are grown men.
That got me thinking of Chip Kelly, Nick Saban. These guys are just.
You know what he needs to do? He needs to go to the Miami Hurricanes, bring up the recruiting, and win some football games there. That's what he needs to do. Not coach in the NFL.
Some college coaches can't make the transition. The best that they can do is be coordinators. That's really the best they can do. So honestly, it makes me kind of wonder, because I keep hearing the name Gus Malzahn like over and over and over and over and over again. And Manny's just like, no, he's not NFL head coach material whatsoever. And I keep hearing the name. I keep hearing the name over and over again. So anyway, thank you all so much for joining us. Hopefully, the Dolphins are 1-0. No getting around that. No ignoring that. They won. Congratulations to them. Work on whatever needs to be worked on for next week. So, and once again, big thank you to Thrive Fantasy for sponsoring this show. Be a little bit less like me and actually pick some guys that are actually going to get you a win or two. Because unlike me, you actually have a shot at winning some big time plays. I'm just really bad at this, and I'm really unlucky too. So anyway,
Lewis, quick plug, guys. Tomorrow on Donald Daily, we will have Alf Arteaga from 3 Yards Per Carry, which I'm sure right now he is watching film as we speak, probably till who knows, long nights tonight for him. But we'll definitely bring him on. We'll get a recap of the game and his thoughts.
And I will be listening very carefully.
What happens with the rest of the NFL once they realize that the Dolphins are 1-0, which that won't be the topic. We all know. It will be that Tua threw that bad interception, and he got saved on defense.
Oh, of course. But as always. But you know what? I at this point, I was the one who even said it. Like, we really shouldn't care. We should ignore them to the best of our ability so that they can stop talking about it, because it'll stop making them money. But when that's all you have, it's kind of hard to ignore. We'll do our best. All right. Thank you all so much for joining us. We will see you all next week. Bye-bye.